What do you think, though, Charles, with the Seahawks offense? What is grabbing your attention? Are you a little higher on them maybe after their impressive preseason?
Yeah, after seeing it in action, I'm higher on the idea that this offensive line won't be a complete disaster this year. Which I think does a lot for where you can.
It's hard to be worse.
Where you can put, yeah, it's hard to be worse than they were last year. I feel like it would be irresponsible for me to say obviously they have a good offensive line now, but I think they have one that's functional, especially when you look at where Zabel played or how Zabel played the first round pick from North Dakota State. Like getting him next to Charles Cross for the long term, like that's something it feels like you might be able to count on for the season, which is a lot more than you could say about where they were last season, or maybe even some of the feelings that I had about where they were coming into this offseason. So if they can be sturdier up front, like there's room for Kubiak to come in and have success in his first year as an offensive coordinator. I just don't know if they have enough to have truly have a good offense, because I'm still not in on the idea that Cooper Kupp was something that this team needed. And then when you get past that, if we're talking about Torrey Horton, he's a 5th round pick. I think we're high on him for the future, but you still have to think about how much you're putting on his plate. Yeah, to the moon. Like he's a really promising player, but I've got him on a bunch of dynasty leagues. He was one of the stars of our dynasty college football dynasty last year for the Colorado State user. But in real life, I still want to give him a runway to be a 5th round pick, for his rookie year. So I think for this year, I think all of this maybe comes out to be like an average offense, maybe slightly above average offense that has its moments, which is, and I mainly said because I feel a lot better about the offensive line than I did last year. And I think you could probably chalk a lot of that up to coaching. I mean, Ryan Grubb is back at Alabama. He's coaching with Kalen DeBoer again. So, I think the fact that he didn't really get sniffed at for the NFL chance says a lot about where he was last year. So I think that's going to help a lot, but still just want to see a little bit more, maybe another offseason before I say, oh yeah, this offense is good. Because I still kind of wanted to see outside of maybe a Kenneth Walker run, where are the explosives on this offense really going to come from?
Mm-hmm. It's me, Seahawks optimist. That's I'll start this section off. No,
they should have had Gino for these guys.
But it's me. I still got my Darnold chair, so I'm okay here. That's the thing. That's why it's been so complicated for me. And I think Matt even asked me this. He goes, "You're one of the few people that's in both camps. I'm a Gino guy and a Darnold guy." So I'm just like, I don't
hate Darnold. I just think I don't hate Darnold. I just wouldn't have swapped out Gino for him.
You always encapsulate him perfect. You know what he is. And I think that you're very fair with him. It's he has his highs, but he also has some of the worst lows you could possibly get. No, but it's starting. I think the offensive line is going to grab everyone's attention, even with a new quarterback and a new OC. And the early returns look really good. They got a vet offensive line coach and John Benton, who is Kubiak's guy. And I mean that Kubiak's plural, because it was his dad's guy in Houston. It was Kyle's first offensive line coach in San Fran. He's a zone guy. I mean, we're not shocked. They're going to run a ton of zone and do some other things. They got the fullback back there too, doing some cool stuff. But that's where I think the floor of this offense is even higher than maybe I expected. That's what a Shanahan-Kubiak offense does. It's a big floor riser. You just need the quarterback and the weapons to lift the ceiling. But man, that offense looked good. Gray Zabel looked great in his first couple games. I was thinking Oluwatimi would take the center spot. It looks like Jalen Sundell is at center, and he looks great. Former undrafted free agent, I believe. But no, there's some depth. Even though I watched the backups, Oluwatimi looks solid too, but Sundell looks good. So we got a nice little North Dakota State Bison at center and left guard, which not a lot of teams kind of trotting out a couple FCS guys. Right guard, it's been a battle, I believe, between Bradford and Christian Haynes, but both seem positive again. Aver Lucas looks healthy at right tackle. Cross is the only one missing. And before the season, he was the only guy I could trust. So again, this is some narrative scouting, some Disco Stew to the moon, stock up. But I don't know. The floor looks high. And I think they have actual talent there. and they actually have guys that know what they're doing, and everybody just is going to the right place over and over, right spot. This offensive line coach last year, I believe he's in Alabama too right now, he was never a pro guy. This is leans to a discussion from the Cardinals offensive line coach. It's like, you just don't know how these coaches are going to do. Is their stuff translate? Do they even know how to operate a protection scheme? For the Seahawks, it was absolutely not last year. This guy does. Ben does. He's been around for a long time. And I just think run game-wise, even if Kenneth Walker's hurt, which is set your clock to it, he's already hurt. He's going to be hurt again sometime this year. I think Charbonnet looks great. And this offense looks good at the very least and fits the offense. Their backup looks decent. George Holani. Again, this offense makes the most of average personnel and can really lift that floor. And I just think they have a little bit more juice. You mentioned Horton. I temper expectations. Yeah, he's a receiver 3 at best. I like AJ Barner a ton. Spoilers for a different section. Yeah, I don't know how they're and they own JSN. Duh. I think he's going to get hyper focused and get to move around because they use condensed splits and stuff. I think it was really conducive to how he plays. So, yeah, this is an offense that I was optimistically a couple months ago going like they can maybe get to 18th, 16th, and now I'm like, okay, I think maybe 16th, 17th, 18th is more the floor, and they can maybe crack that, 8, a 9, a 10 if things go right because of who they have. So, if you can't tell, I've come around a lot on this Seahawks team. I was pretty high on them going into this offseason process. And yeah, it's looked good. And how I think they're building it makes sense in my head. So, and also because I just don't think Darnold's as bad as most people think, that I think that's what helps as well too. And it's a good offense for him. Just don't make him make mistakes. Bootlegs, play action, 3rd and 4s. All right, we just take it out of Sam's hands. Just make him a couple big plays. That's where you can help out. He'll hit a couple big plays down the field. The defense, though, I think pretty universal agreement here. Yeah. The strength of this team and maybe potentially has a chance to be the best defense in the NFL. But at the very least, I think really safe to say top 10 defense. I would say safe to say top 5 defense almost. They're 4th in the second half of last year in defense suplex rate, 8th in weighted DVOA, and I think they are going to look even better this year. But Charles, what's exciting you about the Seahawks defense, and do you think they have a shot to be the best in the game?
They do have a shot to be one of the best. They do have a shot to be the best defense in the league. I mean, we know that especially on that side of the ball can be a little bit fluid. But when you're looking at that, just look at this, like the collection of talent that they have. Like I know. The first thing I thought when I was looking at their depth chart is I would hate to be a running back against this front seven. Like they are bringing the absolute pain. Because even last year, once they started to get things together, in the back half of the season, they were really tough to run against. Leonard Williams breaking out. Byron Murphy looked good. And then they just added DeMarcus Lawrence to that. Got John Hankins, who I know is dealing with some stuff right now, but when he gets healthy, like that's just another guy you can rotate into stuff to run. Yep. And probably spoiling myself a little bit here of my breakout player pick, but their linebackers, Ernest Jones and Tyrese Knight, are really tough run defenders too, in their own right. And then there's Devin Witherspoon in the nickel, who's not afraid to stick his nose in there and hit too. So like you're trying to run against this front. It's not going to be fun. Obviously, Mike Macdonald's going to have him in the right spot. And I think it was encouraging that, Mike Macdonald did it again last year where you start off a little shaky. Maybe you're not as clean as you want to be, but then by the end of the season, they were an absolute machine. So coming into year 2, where you're bringing back so many of the same players, I think they're probably going to get off to a fast start. And like I said, this run defense, I think, has a chance to be one of the best in the league, especially once John Hankins gets back. And that's like your third guy that can come and stuff the run. Byron Murphy is going to be another year better, and he's got some pass rush explosion on the inside. Leonard Williams had maybe one of the best seasons of his career last year.
Probably defensive player of the year for like the second half of the year.
No, seriously, and even against the Jets, he had the interception. Like he was really showing out last year. So I think this front really, really could be one of the best in the league. And then Witherspoon, even in coverage, you got Tariq Woolen, who is still, one of the more exciting cornerbacks in the league. I can't say enough about this defense and the talent that they've acquired. They really just seem like they could have a really, really strong breakout season this year.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I hinted at it, but I love just the front seven, the defensive line, like I love when there's just this many different types of bodies. Like just, all right, we got a bruiser, we got a run plugger, we got a pocket pusher, we got the bendy guys on the outside. They got Nwosu and Boy Mafi. Like those guys are just sprinkled in as well. Yeah, but you mentioned Hankins as well. Derek Hall. Like these guys aren't even like starters. They're like technically, quote unquote. Like these guys are just rotational parts, but they have so many bodies to throw at offenses. And Mike Macdonald, this is why he became kind of like, the scheme guys' favorites and then watching on Twitter and everything, but also just looked at the box scores. That leap from year 1 to year 2 with the Ravens, which we've talked about before. It took time year 1. And then year 2, they just took a bigger leap. He's one of the best game planning defensive coaches. I would just say coaches, any position, any unit in the entire NFL. And it takes time to have comfort level to add on, to learn your personnel, who is good, who is bad. But now that they have that, man, these blitz looks, these pressure looks, the simulated stuff they do, it's going to look really cool. And even if he wants to rush straight, got some guys that can get after the passer or push the pocket or be boom bust, like a Byron Murphy. I mean, you mentioned him, but I haven't even mentioned him yet, and he's great. Like he has already showed out. Yeah. He's a dynamic player. So they got guys that stop the run. Like they got beef against the run. DeMarcus Lawrence is what Michael Williams is. That's what I'm hoping what DeMarcus Lawrence is what I'm hoping Michael Williams becomes. Just excellent against the run and like a good pass defender. Even if he's hurt, it's like they have enough to cushion him against other stuff. So, and then the back end, you mentioned Witherspoon, who it could be a national breakout player this year. He's awesome. Just a really fun and smart football player. Reek Woolen, you mentioned Julian Love, another dynamic player, and this type of defense really unlocks him. So, yeah, it's a defense I was high on. I've only gotten higher as the last couple of weeks and months have gone along since last time we maybe focused on them. But could be a really, really special unit, like you said. We had them all in our top 6 for our top 10 defenses. So again, we're not saying anything crazy here. I think Sheil Kapadium has the number 1 defense when he did his rankings as well from the Ringer. It's not. And it's one that I'm like, damn, I wish I had it. I wish I had that take. Because now I've really, really gone like, man, these guys are going to bash some heads in. And it's going to be pretty cool. Yeah. They open up with the 49ers, which should be a lot of fun. Then they go at Pittsburgh. That could be a nice little hoss fight. And then host the Saints, which could be another little sneaky hoss fight. All right, breakout player for the Seahawks. Who do you got, Chuck?
I'm going with Tyrese Knight, linebacker. Nice. He's a 4th round pick last year. And it was the game that they played at Arizona last year where they had some plays where they were just beating guys up front. And just the way that, I don't know if he's ever going to be like an elite coverage linebacker, but I love the way he fits the run. Like he is, he's shift, square up, hit. And it's just the routine of it over and over and over again.
He's always holding strafe. Was it left trigger or right trigger?
Yes,
left trigger.
Always holding left trigger. He's always holding strafe. And as soon as the ball declares, he is downhill and he's hitting and no fear. Like those are the players that you need to have one of the best run defenses in the league. And it's kind of like, I guess it's like the perfect mid-round backer, someone who's just going to come there and pop the out of someone and keep it moving to the next play. That's what I like about him.
Of course. Yeah. You love your hammerheads. You're all about the hammerhead. Right. But hey, man, these are the guys like I always had they get kind of in certain defenses though, these guys can work. And if you mention, okay, oh man, maybe he's not iffy in coverage. Guess what these defenses do? Blitz them. Rush down the pipe and you're going to blow up some guard or running back. We don't even worry about you in coverage. So like, again, it's a defense that like masks, maybe a little bit of the weaknesses. I love that. Again, another player to throw into this defense. That should be pretty good. Mine, it was hard for me not to talk about him, but it's AJ Barner, tight end. I dig Barner. I liked him as a prospect. He's better as a pro than I was anticipating as a prospect. Truly can play in line and block. This offense also, I think it's kind of been an underrated thing. Maybe it shouldn't actually, but what Shanahan loves to use the tight end, and he has Kittle. But this offense used to be tight end friendly. Like I'm picturing Owen Schmidt, with the Texans. Like that's what Barner could be as a receiver and a better blocker, which I think is really exciting.
Owen Daniels.
But
Owen Daniels.
Oh, did I say Owen Schmidt? That's a freaking fullback from West Virginia.
The hard West Virginia fullback that I don't like.
Former Seahawk. He actually busted his helmet open or his head open with the helmet.
Such
You know
a
what,
hard
I got to turn in my Badger helmet. OD is a Badger legend too. Former quarterback, converts to tight end. So Owen Daniels, I'm sorry, OD. I've met you before. You're a great guy. Sorry about that. I even know his nickname. But no, AJ Barner though, because I think he's a true. I've been, I know Arroyo is going to be sexier and a really cool player in his own right, but Barner is a true tight end that could play in line and be a solid to good receiver. And a nice auxiliary target in this offense. Yeah, I think he's going to surprise some people how effective he'll be. Not just me as a nerd posting clips about him blocking, just the other parts of his game are going to stand out as well. Again, interesting team, man. I could have gone with a few other guys as well. I think across this team, which again, I take note of. Over under win total 8.5 for the Seahawks. Charles, where are you leaning towards?
I'm going over. I think this can be a 10. This can be a 10-win team with the defense. I still am a little concerned about like some of the juice they have on offense, but this defense should be absolute dynamite, especially if they can stay healthy.
I try to explain it always every show and try to explain kind of my thinking of why I lean towards certain teams. You got what I think could be a top 5 defense, top 6, and you got a run game that I think will be, I'm going to say, easy top half of the league run game, and an explosive passing game, because it might not always be consistent with Darnold. They might have some bad matchups, but this offense has the play action plays and the boot plays and the launch plays that can create some explosives. Darnold's willing to rip it. That's the math to me, that like, that's a team that can win 10 games. Defense, run the ball, explosive passes. So I'm also going over with the Seahawks. But now, and I think this might be the most interesting prediction of any division we've done, maybe the NFC North, but final division prediction for the NFC West, Charles. Who is going to win it in your mind?
Well, if I just follow, like, I guess where I went on over unders, I'm going to end up on Seattle. I think the defense can just drag them across. The defense, I think, can drag them across the finish line. If you would ask me a month ago, I would have said the Rams. I would have said the Rams. You've asked me a month ago, but I'm going to go with Seattle. I want to say Arizona, but I think Seattle, like, just having such a sure thing on one side of the ball just kind of edges me past them. I don't really have any questions about where they are, so I'm gonna go with Seattle.
Oh man, I like you just said, if you asked me 3 months ago, it would have been like Cardinals. If you asked me 2 months ago, probably would have been Rams. Asked me a month ago, probably would have been 49ers. I'm going with the Seahawks. That's why I'm shocked you went there too, because I thought I was always the high guy on them. So just what I explained, the math makes sense in my head. To Stone, our producer, who is a Seahawks fan, is going nuts right now. I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth either, but it just makes sense as I just kind of look at the units and everything. And I know Clint Kubiak is not, it's Kubiak's son. He's shown that he can do this. Like, he's shown he's put together some offenses that can work. Oh, yeah. I mean, I was so high on that off the grub last year, and I was like, right away, I'm like, oh, you don't know how to do it. That's scary. No, I'm with you. And actually probably the team I feel second best is the Cardinals, which again, I'm like, but I think all 4 of these teams are valid playoff contenders. That's why I'm so interested to see how this all shakes out. But yeah, going with the Seahawks. I'm actually shocked at both of us right now.